Hello and welcome to another episode of What Travis Says. My name is Travis. Let's talk about Doctor Who. More specifically, let's talk about the episode World Enough and Time. That's a tongue twister for an episode. World Enough and Time. World Enough and Time. World Enough and Time is actually a reference to a poem titled To His Coy Mistress. Fun fact. I feel like it goes without saying, but if you've not seen A World Enough in Time, don't watch this video any further. There will be spoilers. So we know by now that Omega is not showing up at the end of season 10. Oh well, wishful thinking on my part. We're now in the middle of the final 2 episodes of season 10, and after a season of pretty great or meh episodes, we have this story arc that seems rather amazing. The Doctor is literally battling time, unable to use his TARDIS, while Bill's life is being whisked away by the minutes. First off, this episode was dark, but it was also incredibly meta. I'm Doctor Who, this is Exposition, this is the comic relief. It's as if Missy was a viewer of Doctor Who from the outside looking in. Doctor Who is his real name. What does he call you? Companions? Even talking about the gender fluidity of Time Lords. And the genesis of the Daleks nod at the end? Speaking of which, I was so happy when I realized that John Sim was secretly on the screen for the majority of the episode. That was brilliant. The Master uses disguises a lot, so it was very fitting. But as I was saying, this episode was dark. Right out the gate, Bill gets shot in the chest, but not just shot, like vaporized. Big sci-fi hole in her chest where her ribcage should be. Nothing there. She didn't die right then, but began her conversion to something a little more than human. The Mundasian Cybermen are arguably some of the creepiest monsters that the Doctor has ever faced, and this episode actually took that creepiness factor up a notch with the pain. And the voice is creepy, yeah, but it's the obvious meshing of machinery and human flesh that makes these creatures just so unnerving. That's why the New Who versions of the Iron Man type Cybermen aren't as scary. It's because they're just encased in metal. There's not even a hint of humanity there. The Mundasian Cybermen are a race of people that tried to save themselves by attaching machinery and electronics while laying there on an operating table. And this episode showed the first go at the whole procedure, so there's bound to be some modifications down the road, you know, upgrades. The horror stems from the fact that this is humanity's future. They aren't Daleks, they aren't weeping angels, these are humans. But Bill's journey in this episode is a roller coaster ride for the audience. First we see her unsure about the mission, and then she gets shot in the chest, and then she's saved, and then she's turned into a Cyberman, or a Cyber Bill. And once again, like in every other episode this season, the Doctor's regeneration is being teased. So what do we believe? There's a lot that was spoiled in the trailer for this episode, but I'm so glad that they were able to keep the major twists under wraps. Or under mask, I guess. Speaking of which, what kind of disguise was the Master's mask? Did he take it off when Bill wasn't looking, or did he keep it on all those years that he was hanging out with her? We know that the next episode will feature future versions of the Cybermen, but like I said, I don't find the future versions nearly as creepy as the Mundasian Cybermen because they're just encased in metal. There is the thinking that since these Cybermen are from the Mundasian Cybermen's future, that the Master might use some of his Time Lord wibbly-wobbly finesse to bring the Cybermen together. Maybe he's wanting to expedite the Mundasians' progress with the future Cybermen. I mean, the Master was always pretty good at rigging up paradoxes. Speaking of the Master, there are some people that are wondering why the Master didn't just kill Bill outright when he met her. Why did he hang out with her so long? Why did he go along with that ruse? Well, that's because killing Bill would have been too easy. He wanted to make the Doctor suffer. And now, as far as we know, she's in an irreversible Cyber Bill situation. We've talked before about how this might be Bill's first and only season on Doctor Who, which isn't that rare for a companion, but a lot of people are leaving the show this year. Peter Capaldi, Michelle Gomez, even showrunner Stephen Moffat, they are all exiting Doctor Who this year. The only full-time cast members that we're not completely certain about, Pearl Mackie and Matt Lucas. We know that Bill is currently Cyber Bill, but Bill's survival will be the topic for tomorrow's video. Though if this really is the end for Bill and Pearl Mackie really is done with Doctor Who, what's that leave for Matt Lucas? Is he going to stick around, or is he going to exit with everyone else? I still think there's more to his character and his connection with River's song, and the show could explore more of his backstory, but who knows at this point. But what I really want to know is why the TARDIS or the Doctor himself couldn't sense that the Master was there on the ship. The TARDIS couldn't, maybe because of the black hole. The Doctor said he couldn't pilot it exactly because they were so close to the black hole. Maybe other settings in the TARDIS were going wonky. And maybe the Doctor could sense sense the Master, but as Missy, and knowing that Missy was there, he just assumed that the Time Lord signature that he was sensing was Missy and not the Master. But the really strange thing is that the Doctor said that they would find a really good distress call, drop Missy in, and see how she does. But out of the billions and billions of distress calls throughout all of time and space, they drop her into the one where the Master has some influence. And even if Missy was starting to be good, meeting her previous version will definitely throw a wrench into those gears. And why doesn't Missy seem to remember her years on that ship as her previous regeneration? The Master tells Missy that the Doctor will never forgive her for the things that she did to Bill, but Missy doesn't remember doing anything to Bill. The Master is here because he says that he's worried about his future, and Missy is trying to move on from her evil past, and yet here he is. The personification of her past is staring her in the face. Which brings us back to the main question looming over this entire season. Can the Doctor ever really trust Missy? I really hope that this season doesn't have some sort of cop-out ending. The second part of Stephen Moffat's season finales are generally weaker than the first. I feel like this season has been pretty solid, with some lackluster episodes, but this conclusion is setting up to be pretty amazing. Speaking of unexceptional episodes, what if this whole thing ends up being a simulation? The Doctor is running a simulation to test Missy, bringing back the Cybermen because it's Missy and she has a past with the Cybermen, pitting her against the most brilliant enemy she would ever have to face, herself. I mean, it would be the only way to guarantee the safety of the universe if Missy decides to go rogue. Or it could all be some weird Time Lord hallucination. I mean, we got that regeneration bit at the beginning, and we've been told that this regeneration is going to be very different than any other regeneration that we've ever seen. I guess we'll find out next week. Depending on how all of this goes down, it could quite possibly be one of the greatest season finales ever. Since tomorrow's video is on the possibility of Bill surviving or dying, I want to know down in the comments if you think that there's any way for Bill to survive this, or if she's already gone. She's a Cyberman, there's no coming back from this. She is dead. And also, do you think that if the Doctor is somehow able to save Bill and bring her back to being fully human, will that take away from the darkness of the episode? Is this one of those situations where you think that the Doctor shouldn't be able to save someone he cares about because of character development and consequences? Or do you think that Bill deserves a more fitting send-off than being the first Cyberman? Let me know in the comments down below and we'll talk about it in tomorrow's video. As always, my name is Travis, thank you for listening to what I have to say, and you will see me tomorrow.